Hello, this is the Phoenix Warrior. I wanted to share one of the stories that is in my book and in some of my classes. And it's called Don't Cry Over Bananas. Yes, there's a whole story about bananas. What it started out to be is that my grandmother, who I was very close to, and we built like a whole life and entwined with each other and I took care of her for many years, and we supported and helped each other. And that she was the one that actually raised me and took care of me ever since I was little. And I did a lot of things for her throughout the years. One of the things that she was very, very good at is baking. And she was a stay-at-home mom, and she loved to can and bake. And she had a couple of signature cookies and banana bread and that she always made, and everybody loved. And I had to spend many, many hours and that delivering them and dropping them off to people. So as my grandmother got a little bit older, she'd always have bananas and have them in the freezer so that she could do banana bread and banana muffins and things like that. And as I got a little bit busy and the kids a little bit picky on what type of bananas and how ripe and all that they would eat them, a lot of times they just got thrown in the freezer, and I throw them in a bag and I take them to my grandmother, and she'd make me banana bread and banana muffins for the kids. So later on, when it was time that my grandmother had to go into a home, we had a bunch of bananas in the freezer. But when she was in the nursing home, the nurses and that were always trying to encourage her to eat and stuff like that. So they would give her a banana. And it started to this thing where she would take the banana and she would hide it and slip it in her drawer. And when I would come to visit her every day, part of our little ritual and my routine, and I'd get in trouble if I wasn't there by like 7 o'clock in the evening time. So she would always go to me and say, grab your banana out of the drawer. And about a year into her being at home and being there every single day, and I would come home, and I distinctively remember this one time just being really tired, and I was in the middle of burnout, not realizing I was in burnout for taking care of my mom and my grandmother and kids, and trying to run a business and manage everything and take care of everything in the house, all the responsibilities that we have to do, and still build a business and figure all this stuff out. That I was like really tired and kind of frustrated and that. And the raw truth, there's moments where when you're dealing with somebody that maybe is ill or that is older, and there's a lot of challenges and struggles with it, or even with somebody that has addictions or things like that, there's moments where you're so tired of the emotional roller coaster and that you have those moments where you never want to speak it out loud. You never want to admit it to anybody, but I'm telling you, it's normal, and guaranteed every single person that has been through any of these challenges has felt it. And I will share that in those moments, you sit back and go, I just wish you would pass, or I would just wish this would end, or I just wish this could stop, or the world could just pause. And later you feel guilty and you feel upset that you even thought that, but you're just in the midst of like a storm, and you just wish that there was a pause button and not. So I was walking in the house and I had a bag of a few of these bananas, some of them a little bit ripe. I must have missed a day or two coming to see her. And I remember like opening up the freezer and thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do with all these flipping fucking bananas? And I have no time to make banana bread, and I don't want to right now. And I whipped open the freezer and I hucked them in and I threw them in there. And I'm like, I just wish you'd just stop giving me these flipping bananas, and I'm not going to do it. And they hit the freezer. And I remember looking in her freezer because we had now moved into her house, lived with her for almost 6 years before we had to put her in a home. And all of a sudden, I remembered one of the lessons that I didn't learn before with my brother and my grandfather when they had passed. I seen the bananas and I went, I know this seems really insignificant. It's just a banana. But this is one of those moments that I will absolutely miss when she passes. And I remember going, okay, Melina, you've read all these books and you've studied mindset. You need to shift your mindset and get out of this mood. And I remember going, okay, it's a banana now, and there's too many of them. There's going to come a day where I'm not going to be able to go to visit her, and we're not going to be able to have our conversations, and I'm not going to get that banana that she gave me. So I shut it and went, okay, how many bananas can she give me? So this carried on for over a year, year and a half, almost 2 years. And when she had actually passed, and that, which is a whole new story, we'll talk about another time. I left the home after she had passed away, and I had to stop at the store. It was a couple of hours later, and I had to pick up a couple things and thought, okay, better pick up a few things, because when the shock and all of that kind of, disappears and stuff, a few people might come to the house. I might need a few things. So I go to walk into the store, and the grocery store that was right by my grandmother's house is Family Foods. They've never had sales on bananas. But of course, on this day, they had a sale on bananas. And I walked into the door, and there's this big basket full of bananas. Well, as soon as I seen these bananas, tears swell up. I kind of start to cry. I grab my composure, and this gentleman is kind of stand behind him, and he's filling up the basket, and he goes, would you like some bananas? They're on sale. And I'm like, no, I can barely get the words out. And he's looking at me like, oh my God, okay, what's wrong with this lady that she's like crying when I asked her if she wanted bananas? And I go down one aisle, and there's another basket of bananas. And I'm like, okay, why would they have them just in random aisles? So I raced down a couple of other aisles because I don't want to see bananas. I don't even want to look at them because I'll burst into tears, and I'm not ready for that. And I go down a couple aisles, I grab some stuff, and I go to the first teller, and then I see she has this great big basket of bananas, and this big sign says sale bananas. I skip that one. I go to the next cashier, and she has a big basket and that. So I skip that one, and I walk to the next cashier, and I look and I go, oh, thank goodness she doesn't have a basket of bananas. She doesn't have them. And I go into the lineup, and I'm quickly paying, and the ladies, kind of talking to me a little bit, and I'm just nodding my head, and I got my composure, and I look all good and fine, like nothing's going on. And I go to pay, and I give her, the cash or whatever. And she goes, oh my goodness, I totally forgot. And she bends down, and she picks up this basket and puts a basket of bananas on her counter. And she said, I totally forgot. I bursted into tears. That was it. Done. I burst into tears, started crying. And I'm like, oh, they're bananas, and I'm like freaking out. And this poor lady's looking at me, and she goes, I'm so sorry. I can re-ring your thing. I didn't realize you'd be so upset that you missed the bananas, but I can get them for you. And she's panicking, thinking I'm crying because she didn't give me the bananas before I went to pay. And so I just reached my purse. I grabbed the $5 change, or $5. I handed it to her and said, I'll just take the bananas. Just give me the bloody bananas. And out I go. And as I'm walking out, I laugh and I go, okay, Grandma, I get it. That's enough of the bananas. And all through the week, every place I went to, somebody offered me oh, do you want a banana? Have you eaten today? I don't think you eat your breakfast. Have a banana. And bugging me and bugging me. Finally, like on the Friday and that, I'm like, okay, I need to get away from all the spiritual woohoo kind of people. I need to get away from all of, certain friends and family that just really don't know how to be around you when you're going through a grief thing. I don't want to go into any grocery stores or whatever. And I had to book to get my Jeep, an oil change or something on it. And I went, oh, I'm totally safe at my mechanic shop because one, they're not really witchy woohoo kind of thing. And at the time, they definitely didn't believe in any of that kind of stuff. So it's a safe place. I don't have to talk about feelings because they're mechanics. Who wants to talk about feelings in the mechanic shop? We can talk about cars or something like that. And, it's not like they're going to offer me any bananas or anything like that. So I walk through the door and there's two brothers that own it. And of course, their significant others sent them lunch and sent them extra bananas. So what's the first thing they do? They offer me a banana. Well, I get tears in my eyes. I bolt into the back. I go into the bathroom trying to grab my composure as I can hear the one go, what'd you say to her? I didn't say nothing to her, just offered her a banana. I've never seen her cry over a banana before. And they didn't know what to think. So when I came out, then I had to explain to them that there's just a whole story about my grandmother and no big deal. I'm good. And I actually just bursted into laughter thinking, oh my God, that's just too funny. Because typical, what is really, really kind of cool and ties into the whole belief of spiritual and stuff. My grandmother and I had a couple conversations. And my grandmother used to tease me and say, I think you're just as crazy as your mother. You actually believe in the spiritual stuff and that, when we cross over, we can do things and stuff like that and you can communicate. And I used to tell her, yeah, like grandpa, sends crows. And the first thing she said to me was, crows? Well, I'm not sending you no crows. If I'm going to send you any type of bird, I want a robin or a blue jay. And I said, perfect. Send me a robin or a blue jay and I'll know that you're communicating with me. And she used to laugh and go, I think you're a little bit crazy. And I turn around and go, knowing you keep bugging me about bananas, you'll probably flood me, for weeks with bananas. And she giggled and laughed in this little like, And then she turned around and she goes, yeah, you know what, Melina, I'll send you a robin for sure, just to see if I can do that. And I definitely would bug you with bananas. I'll keep on bugging you about bananas and then maybe you'll get off your ass and make some banana bread. And what's kind of cool is that when I looked in the freezer a couple days after she had passed and we were trying to figure out her service, I opened up the freezer and I had probably 380 through 390 frozen bananas in the freezer. So I did a shout out on Facebook to a few people and said for my grandmother's funeral, her service, and maybe for a bunch of long-term nursing homes, we would like, maybe a few people to make banana bread in honor of my grandmother. And I have a whole whack of frozen bananas. And I sent one or two people. And we had over 13 to 18 people that reached out and said, I would love to take a bag of frozen bananas and make, my favorite banana bread. Might not be like your grandmother's, but I'll make you banana bread. We had so much banana bread that we actually delivered to every single long-term nursing home that all of my family had been in, especially the ones at the Founding Center and the George Boyack where my grandmother and my mom were at. And we delivered banana bread for a bunch of people. And that's the story about Don't Cry Over Bananas. And I hope you enjoyed it.